have to find a way of making it right with her, or else I would suffer a week of my least favourite food served up, half cold like as not, for my supper. Resolutely I dragged my thoughts away from King James, Sally, and the prospect of 7 days of pallid and unappetising meals featuring salt cod, and applied myself to my studies. I have spent the greater part of my life at sea, latterly as a ship's surgeon. Landbound these 6 years, I had hoped to set up as a sawbones, barber surgeon, whatever you prefer to call it, in Plymouth, the closest busy town to my home. The numerous existing sawbones and barber surgeons, however, had other ideas. Medicine being all that I knew, all that I could do or wanted to do, hurriedly I reviewed my options and made the difficult decision to go to London and gain a qualification as a physician. I achieved my aim, just about, and now I was trying to establish my practice. Which was why that sunny morning in early April I was studying the female body. My life on board the late Queen's ships had taught me a great deal, and I knew as much as any surgeon about broken limbs, amputation, sewing up deep wounds, preventing infection in the lashed back of a flogged sailor, how to recognize a variety of diseases and do what I could for the poor sufferer, how to treat the wide variety of injuries to which men on a sailing ship were prone. But my life at sea had left a vast gap in my knowledge and experience. I knew next to nothing about women. My recent years of training had naturally gone some way towards redressing the balance, although I knew I still had a long way to go. Since a doctor could scarcely call himself by the name if his expertise only extended to half the human race. Not even that, for I also had yet to experience at first hand the mysteries of most of the wide range of childhood maladies. I was determined to study as hard as I must until I felt fully confident. The bright day passed. I worked on, my concentration so intense that I was only vaguely aware of goings-on around me. The sweet smells of spring floated in through the open study window, briefly interrupted by a richer, riper, and less fragrant aroma as Tock, the dim-witted lad who carries out the more straightforward of the outdoor tasks, carted another load of dung out to the vegetable patch. Dipping my quill into the inkhorn yet again, I paused briefly. Tock needed someone brighter to order his days, and Samuel, most reliable of men and equipped with an inexhaustible fund of patience when it comes to Tock, had gone to market. Tock is willing, and he has strong arms and broad shoulders, but he is totally lacking in initiative. Order him to take a load of dung from the midden to the vegetable garden, and he'll do just that, take one load. Then, unless somebody notices, he'll sit beside the empty cart, gazing into space for the remainder of the daylight. I put down my quill, about to go outside and gently but firmly encourage Tock to go back for another load, but Sally beat me to it. As I returned to my books, I heard her shrill voice screeching at him to get back to work, as that dung wasn't going to grow legs and walk to the vegetable patch by itself. I have no idea what Tock's real name is, and very possibly he hasn't either. He must have been orphaned young, and he first came to my family's notice when he began hanging around my grandfather's forge, blue-tipped hands spread to the warmth, refusing to go away even when various objects were hurled at him along with the imprecations. He'd have been 7 or 8 then, filthy, lice-ridden, starving, clad in rags, and with his bones standing out so that you could have traced his entire skeleton under the blotched and scabby skin. My grandmother took pity on the boy, and persuaded my grandfather to put him to work in the smithy. Tock would sit for hours, tapping a hammer against the huge old anvil and murmuring, "Tock." It was the only word he spoke, and tapping his hammer purposelessly on the anvil the only activity he did for almost 2 years. But my grandparents refused to give up, and Tock has been with one or other member of the family ever since. I heard Sally come bustling back into the house and cross the hall below me, muttering not quite under her breath about being far too busy to worry about stupid clotheads who hadn't the wits to carry a task to its fulfilment, and how was she expected to get the spring cleaning done when she was interrupted every few minutes, and nobody had done anything about her perfectly reasonable request for a new goose-wing duster, and where she was going to find the time to gather the tansy for the springtime vermifuge she didn't know. I shut Sally firmly out of my mind and went back to the seemingly endless list of reasons why a woman fails to conceive. My peace was abruptly ruptured by a shriek from below. The hall of my house is wide and high-ceilinged, and has a fine echo. Sally's scream was still resonating as I leapt up and ran from my study, which is on the upper floor, to see what had happened.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.